It's D-U-E-U tell. I see you by this point, you're reading my mind. It's time for football. We about to keep this thing moving. I'm about it, you're with it, let's do it. We gon' make this thing official, you heard me? If you're the best, then let's prove it. The goal is set to have a team become a unit, man. We about to keep this thing moving. I'm about it, you're with it, let's do it. We gon' make this thing official, you heard me? If you're the best, then let's prove it. The goal is set to have a team become a unit, yeah.
Welcome to Football Game Plan's NFL All 32 show. I am Emery Hunt, the czar of the playbook, and today's episode will be all about the Las Vegas Raiders as we start to preview the upcoming 2021 NFL season. We'll look at some training camp quick hits, some reasons for optimism, as well as some causes for concern, in addition to our positional breakdowns on both sides of the ball. But first, let's take a look at some of the key storylines heading into the Raiders season as we go into our 4-minute offense. You can tell that a major point of emphasis for the Raiders this offseason was to improve the defensive side of the ball. They went out and acquired Yannick Ngakoue, Quentin Jefferson, Casey Hayward, Carl Joseph, Solomon Thomas, and Rasul Douglas, amongst others. Then, in the 2021 NFL Draft, 5 of their 7 draft picks went to that side of the ball as well. This was a team that was 25th in total defense and a major reason why they missed the playoffs last year. That Dolphins game just sticks out in my mind as the most egregious example. The hope is that won't happen again with the attempts that they made this offseason. The Raiders also went through an offensive line overhaul as well. Gone are Trent Brown, Rodney Hudson, Gabe Jackson, and then comes center Nick Martin and draft picks Alex Leatherwood out of Alabama and Jimmy Morrissey out of Pitt. Now, while Martin and Morrissey are seen more as depth guys, Leatherwood is expected to start at right tackle from day one, while guys that filled in last season get an opportunity to put a stranglehold on starting jobs. So this was a very good offense last year, and we'll see if the moving pieces up front and moving on from stalwarts like Jackson and Hudson will have an adverse effect on this unit. Not to be hyperbolic, but this will be a pivotal year for some younger prospects, some just entering their second season. Corners Damon Arnett and Amik Robertson will be looked upon to make significant strides in the secondary this year. Both dealt with some injury and inconsistency issues as rookies. Now on offense, Nelson Aguilar is now gone off to New England, and both Brian Edwards and Henry Ruggs III will be asked to assume greater roles within the passing game. And as the same with Arnett and Robertson, nagging injuries and inconsistency plagued them also as rookies. However, for the quartet, we saw flashes from them last year, enough to where you have confidence that they will all break out in 2021. Now, a lot has been made about John Gruden and Mike Mayock's tenure so far, and I can understand some of the frustration. There have been a lot of moving and shaking across the roster, some good, some bad, some the jury's still out on, so I get it. However, I tend to lean more toward the positive side, and we just spoke about the young players entering year 2 with the organization, and I spoke earlier about how this team was on a cusp of a playoff berth last year, so it's not that they're far off. Maybe the most egregious thing was the trading of Khalil Mack and the drafting of Cleveland Farrell at 4, as they're still searching for a difference maker coming off the edge. So we'll see if this year how things fare on the defensive side of football, and I'm sure we'll be revisiting this conversation this time next season. I've always been a Derek Carr fan, and I'm glad he's having the success he's had under John Gruden. His numbers have gotten better every season, and he's even more willing to push the ball deeper down the field, which has always been a long-time criticism of his game. And with Carr playing some of his best football, along with some of the young improving talent around him, the sky is the limit for this Raider passing game. Now, they also have a good, capable reserve in Marcus Mariota, who they needed to step in and play last year when Carr got banged up against the Chargers. Running back Josh Jacobs went over 1,000 yards once again last year. This time he earned himself a Pro Bowl nod. He also reached the end zone 12 times in that regard. Now with the revamped offensive line, we'll see if his yards per carry will improve this season. Vegas still wants to upgrade the depth behind him, which is why they went out and signed Kenyon Drake in free agency, and Drake gives them a little bit more explosiveness at the position and the ability to threaten a little bit more downfield in the passing game, as does Theo Riddick, who will more than likely compete with Jalen Richard for that third down role. Now the Raiders have a stellar fullback in Alec Ingold, who helps pave the way for the run game, but could also tote that rock in short yardage situations if need be. Most of the optimism for the 2021 Raiders lies within their receiving core. Expect both Henry Ruggs III and Brian Edwards to make a significant jump this year in productivity now that they've had a full year of acclimation to the NFL game and that playbook. Both guys are legit game breakers and should be able to sustain the flashes that we saw from them as rookies. Hunter Renfrow is Mr. Third Down, who always knows where the sticks are and is able to consistently work himself open very often. Good veteran depth here with Zay Jones, Willie Snead, and John Brown in case those second-year players are not ready to make that leap just yet. But keep an eye out for that battle for the 7th receiver spot between Marcel Aitman, Keelan Doss, and undrafted rookie free agent Dylan Stoner out of Oklahoma State. What a weapon at tight end they have in Darren Waller, who turned himself into a legitimate threat at the position. He posted his second consecutive 1,000-yard season, scoring 9 touchdowns and earned his first Pro Bowl nod. I would expect him being named to his first All-Pro team should be in line for him this upcoming season. Foster Moreau gives him a nice compliment to Waller, and I would keep an eye out for undrafted rookie free agent Matt Bushman out of BYU, who's coming off of an injury, but his game is very similar to that of Moreau. Alex Leatherwood was a selection in the first round of this year's draft that caused a bit of a stir, but listen, dude could flat out play. In fact, he could legitimately play any one of the 5 positions up front, so I don't blame the Raiders for taking a versatile offensive lineman of his caliber when they did. Those guys don't come around very often. He's an instant starter and should help solidify the bookends with Colton Miller, who has slowly gotten better each and every season for the Raiders, and ironically was another pick that was ballyhooed at the time, and he's proven to be a really good player. Getting Richie Incognito back helps him on the interior, and at worst, he will provide good depth as I see a big year coming for John Simpson, the second-year man of Clemson. He was solid in his opportunities last year and has far more obvious upside than Incognito. Denzel Good was a solid starter for them last season and should start on the opposite side once again. Now bringing in free agent Nick Martin gives them depth behind new starting center, potentially at least, Andre James, as there will be a lot of eyes on James as he's got some big-time shoes to fill. Brandon Parker at tackle, rookie Jimmy Morrison, who could challenge center for that center spot with James, and Jarrett Jones-Smith will provide the depth up front for the Raiders. It's safe to say that a lot will be expected of this group this year. Getting better on defense starts up front, and that's something that new defensive coordinator Gus Bradley definitely understands. Adding Yannick Ngakoue gives him a proven commodity off the edge, and now the challenge will be to get that same type of effort elsewhere amongst the core. Max Crosby is more in line to be that guy they're looking for, seeing that he led the team in sacks last year with 7, but the Raiders would like to see Clelin Ferrell's productivity in that regard take a huge step forward. He's a solid run defender, but they need him to be a better pressure-type player entering his 3rd season. 3rd-round pick Malcolm Kuntz out of Buffalo was taken to help complement this unit, and we'll see if Carl Nassib can have a bounce-back year as he looked to be what they needed at the position when they signed him in free agency back in 2020. Now, on the inside, I've always been a Quentin Jefferson fan, and his versatility gives them some juice on the interior. Jonathan Hankins is a stable veteran that also helps aid the run defense, but keep an eye out for Darius Stills, the undrafted rookie free agent from West Virginia. He's got the quicks off the ball to be disruptive on both ends of defense. Raiders got solid play from their linebackers last season. Nicholas Morrow and Nick Kwiatkowski played particularly well, and obviously more will be expected from Corey Littleton in his 2nd year with the team. He was a ball magnet 2 years ago with the Rams, but that didn't materialize last year. I think Gus Bradley will be able to get him more in position to make those plays that we saw from him a couple of years ago. And we'll see them add more versatility to the 2nd level with Tanner Muse, who missed all of last season with an injury during his rookie year, and 3rd-round pick Divine Diablo out of Virginia Tech, whose range is just ridiculous, having played safety for the Hokies. Just like how Muse was a former safety for Clemson, so expect to see a little bit more unique looks coming from the 2nd level in 2021. I'm excited for this secondary, and I would expect better years from Arnett, Robertson, safety Jonathan Abram, all dealt with injury and inconsistencies, a common theme amongst that secondary. And on top of all that, Trayvon Mullen was quietly stable and solid for them, and his progression arrow is definitely pointing upwards. Now, they've bolstered the depth here with Casey Hayward, Carl Joseph, who returns to the Raiders after spending some time with Cleveland, and Rasul Douglas. Nevin Lawson has also been a really dependable rotational player for them. The influx of free agents put some pressure on Isaiah Johnson, the 2019 4th-round pick, and I like his game. I think the length and athleticism that he has meshes well with what Gus Bradley likes in his corners. Keep an eye out for 5th-round pick Nate Hobbs out of Illinois, who starred in Lovie Smith's defense in college and should be able to make an easier transition to the pro game. He and 2nd-round pick Trayvon Moore could be immediate impact players on the back end, with Morik starting right out of the gate at free safety. Fellow rookie Tyree Gillespie should star on special teams initially before finding a way to work into the regular defense. Now, the talent is definitely here for the Raiders, in my opinion, so it'll be interesting to see how and if it can all come together. One of the reasons for optimism for the Raiders is the fact that their offense can put the ball in the paint. This was a team that averaged 27 points a game last year, which was 10th in the NFL. They have some tremendous playmakers out there on the perimeter, and that's why you have to be optimistic about them heading into the season. Also, there is individual talent in the secondary. Guys just need to play consistently as a group, but individually, Jonathan Abram, Trayvon Morik, Amik Robertson, Damon Arnett, Casey Hayward, Rasul Douglas, Isaiah Johnson has talent. Listen, this is a team individually in the secondary that has a lot to like, and it's a big reason why I am optimistic about the Raiders on defense heading into the year. A cause for concern would be all of the moving pieces on both sides of the line of scrimmage. That's an area where they went to work this offseason, trying to find guys and replace guys, longtime starters and studs on both sides of the line of scrimmage. If they are not able to gel quickly and get off the ground or get off to a good start this season, it could be a problem. Also, in conjunction with that, if that defense doesn't improve, you talk about a defense that was 30th in points allowed, 29th in sacks, 30th in turnover differential. They have to get better defensively to help them close out games so that way they can finally break through and get to the playoffs once again. Now let's look at some training camp quick hits, and we'll start with camp surprises on offense. John Simpson, the guard, I think will end up being one of the starters up front along this rebuilt offensive line. This dude was impressive coming out of Clemson. I thought he played well when asked to do so last year, so I think he is ready for his debut as a Raiders starter. And defensive tackle Darius Stills, an undrafted rookie free agent out of West Virginia. This dude can really get pressure up front. I think he's someone that should have been drafted, but he will definitely surprise in training camp. Rookie impact players, Alex Leatherwood. I love the pick the Raiders made in the first round with Alex Leatherwood. He can play anywhere along the offensive line. He's a good player and should be another one of these foundational pieces up front. Trayvon Morik is a plug-and-play starter, good savvy, good instincts, good ball skills, pairs up perfectly with Jonathan Abram, gives him yet another solid defender on the back end. You look at some X factors on offense, I think the rebuilt offensive line has to help spearhead just the run game, pass protection, help keep this offense on pace. Remember, I said this offense can score, but they will need this offensive line to get up to speed in order to continue to do so. And Yannick Ngakoue, the defensive end, the high-priced free agent they brought in, he really has to be a difference maker on the outside. He can't be just okay. They need him to be the X factor for this defense if they really want to break out. And speaking of breaking out, I'm looking at Andre James, the center that's going to be replacing Rodney Hudson on the inside. There's a reason why they were willing to trade Hudson and make this move. I think James will surprise a lot of folks and have a fantastic season as their new starting center. Defensively, I'm looking at Amik Robertson, the outstanding corner they drafted last year out of Louisiana Tech. He's now going to be healthy, going into a full offseason. Whether he's playing inside or outside, we'll start to see those instincts and ball skills start to take flight. The road to the Super Bowl for the Raiders goes as follows, and the first two are all about defense. Number one, you have to get this defense to top 16. Again, they don't have to be the top defense in the NFL. They don't have to be top 5, but they can't be bottom half like they were last year, and they have to be able to turn the ball over. I spoke glowingly about all of the individual talent that they have on the back end. It's time for those guys to start paying dividends and turn the ball over and get the ball back to this offense that can score the ball with the best of them. And this offensive line has to strengthen, gel quickly, and really help this offense continue to really lead this football team. If those things can happen for the Raiders, they'll get into the playoffs and just go right across the state to California, to Los Angeles, and play in the Super Bowl. I have the Raiders finishing 4th in the AFC West. A lot of moving parts along the line of scrimmage kind of gives me cause for pause for this team. A lot of times it's all about continuity when you look at these squads that are breaking through, and when you make too many changes, too many adjustments, it could throw off that type of continuity that you need along the offensive line, defensive line, and in the secondary. They'll be competitive, but I still worry if the defense can start to close things out and be much better than what we saw in 2020. So that's it for this edition of Football Game Plan's NFL All 32. I am Emery Hunt, the czar of the playbook. Be sure to follow me on all of my social media accounts, and don't forget to check out and subscribe to the Football Game Plan Network located at youtube.com/footballgameplan. Also subscribe on iTunes to Football Game Plan Podcast, where you can leave us a 5-star rating. That's where you can find our NFL All 32 podcast.
It's D-U-E-U till I see you. By this point you're reading my mind. It's time for football. We about to keep this thing moving. I'm about it, you're with it, let's do it. We gon' make this thing official, you heard me? If you're the best, then let's prove it. The goal is set to have a team become a unit, man. We about to keep this thing moving. I'm about it, you're with it, let's do it. We gon' make this thing official, you heard me? If you're the best, then let's prove it. The goal is set to have a team become a unit, yeah.